So we out here again, working on the old parts truck. Right there. Primary objective for me is going to be to get this cab off of it onto my trailer so I can strip the rest of it down on the inside. That means disconnecting everything across the floor and pulling anything loose that's bolted through the floor, like the seats. Some of you fellas might be wondering why this cute little machine is getting junked, and I'll tell you why. First off, it was backed into by a combine, and that was not when I owned it. They turned it into insurance or whatever they did. They sold it for scrap without a title. Guy bought it, pulled the, I think it was a Big Cam 400 out of it. I bought it with no title, with no engine. Anyways, here's the damage. It's fairly substantial. I mean, it's caved quite a ways. It's destroyed everything up in this whole section, including blowing apart the stuff on the inside. That could be fixed technically, I mean, but the damage unfortunately extended all the way out through the back. I mean, it wrenched it pretty freaking hard. Also, it's already been patched before, like right there, but you can see right here what it did to the floor there, where it's all welded across. It's just buckled it and just pulled it really loose from the mounts. Just ripped the mounts right out of the floor. So yes, it could technically be fixed, but with no title, no powertrain, nothing like this. This one is destined to become a deer blind or something like that. I reckon the first thing I need to do is get this seat out of there. This is the one that's gonna be going into the truck that I'm restoring, and the bolts go right through the floor. So when this cab is sitting flat on my trailer, anything that goes through the floor needs to already be out. I'm gonna get under there and try to figure out what kind of combination of bolts and sockets and whatnot I'm gonna need. Kind of get everything penetrated with some oil and bring you back to see if we can get it out of there. Can't hook no air up to the seat, so I'm gonna try to leverage it up, see if it'll go up with this bar. If it will. Godly. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna jam a block under there to hold it so I can get to the top of the bolts. Oh man. Well, I have done funner things in my life than trying to get those bolts out. I just can't remember when or what it was that I done. Come on. Still being a little stubborn. Outdoors trying to shut on my head. We got the old girl out. Look at that. Something on this seat or the old seat was just rubbing right through that aluminum. Chewed it up. I don't believe this is the original seat, but it's close enough to count. I'll show you what makes a seat for at least this Cabover different. See how offset it is? Most modern seats are full width, you know, would not work in a Cabover. Or at least not an international one. That'll cover up nice. It's kind of got the same style as the factory, if it's not a factory seat. Could be, but I don't know. Guess I'll go ahead and pull these guys off. I'm just gonna leave them on there. They're so badly trashed. It's only like 3 bolts. I'll zip them off of both sides and figure out what else we get out of here. So I got these guys ready for the last coat of primer. The white stuff's the epoxy primer. Sanded it down, got a little dust out, fixed a few pinholes. They're definitely not perfect. I mean, just trying to get them close to the condition they would have been in brand new, which means that they're gonna have little wrinkles and stuff from welds and spots where the metal is just not perfect. They're just air tanks. So let's get after it. So I'm finally at the final step of so I finally reached the end of the road as far as getting these ready to paint. All I'm doing now is taking my 600 grit wet sandpaper and just lightly knocking down the dust or overspray or bugs or whatever might have gotten into them when I primed them outside. Really, they're pretty good, relatively smooth, but you can just feel a little bit of texture. So I'll set up and you can watch me for a minute. Like I said, this is just hitting them real light, trying to stay off of like these welds and whatnot. You hit those, you'll burn right through the primer real fast. What I'm mainly doing is, while I'm doing this, the rest of my hand is sliding over the surface, and I can feel if there's a big speck of dirt or something like that. Like I said, this is 600 wet. This will just give the paint a fresh surface to bite into, meaning that it's been opened up. Usually doesn't matter with primer that much, but I usually try to scuff everything before I go to shoot it at a minimum. Just gets contaminants and open up the pores just a little bit. So we got them hung up. They've been wet sanded lightly. Kind of have a little bit of a shine to them, just a little bit, if you will. They're ready to shoot. I hung up a couple of other accoutrements that go on the chassis. Most of them just little frame brackets, old wire harnesses and air hoses. I've got about 38 billion of those. But without further ado, let's go mix some paint. So the base coat's down. It went down just fine. It's nice and dry. It's had about 45 minutes to flash off. It only requires about 15, but I'd give it a little extra so you don't have to deal with any solvent pop. So I'm gonna set you up, try to get you a little closer. You can kind of see what it looks like changing colors. It's kind of difficult to get in and around these guys. Could have took them all off, but I don't have enough plugs to plug all those and all those and the ones on the bottom and the ends. So we'll set you up and we'll get going, make these look pretty. Well, you can't hardly hear me, but they came out real nice. Pretty happy with that. Honestly, they came out a little better than I figured they would. It's progress. Along with a bunch of these little fellas. These are kind of hard to shoot. They blow all over the place. Big rod that supports the exhaust stack bracket. Well, now that all that is done, it's time to get these onto these. So what I've been trying to mull over is how in the world I can wrestle those 40-pound air tanks up into these, run the bolt down, get them where it needs to be, and not scratch the paint all up. And there ain't much room, so I couldn't come up with any good solution to that. So what I think I'm gonna do is get a good measurement from center of this to center of this. These mount vertical, obviously, so my air tank fittings will also mount vertical, matching that. I think what I'm gonna do is pull these brackets off. None of these bolts are tight, so I think what I'm gonna do is, like I said, get my measurement from the center of that, pull these brackets off, and set my air tanks on my little foam insulated stands and put those onto the air tanks off the truck. Then I think it'll be pretty easy to come in here, you know, walk in here and snake the air tank under here, pop the bolts in, and just snug those guys up. Doing it that way, it's gonna avoid all the fighting the 40-pound air tank and rolling around on the gravel there. So I also bought some 3-inch rubber, real thin strap material to go here. Now this is just 1.5 inches, but I couldn't find 1.5 inches, so with the 3, I think I can use a straight edge and just cut it with a razor blade and have my rubber strips to go between these and the fuel tanks. I think that'll work fine. I just got to find the adhesive probably to glue these to that so they're not squirming all over the place. All right, easy peasy. I'll get the other one off and we'll reconvene in the shop. So I got my rubber strap rolled out on the floor, and the straps for the tank are 1.5 inches wide, exact same width as this yellow tape. So all I did was laid one strip on that side of it, one strip on the other, and I'm just gonna cut basically that middle black strip out. All right, so I think, there you go. Anyways, so I'm gonna do that to this guy and finish this one out all the way to the end and bring you back. Okay, that was actually super easy. I got these cleaned perfectly 1.5 inch strips of rubber, 4 of them. In my brackets. I cleaned the inside of them, they were outside obviously. I think I'm just gonna try a little bit of this Edelbrock gasket cinch. Use this on different gaskets, valve cover gaskets and whatnot. Has a very similar appearance to PVC glue. But I'm gonna try to put a real thin coat here and a real thin coat on the matching piece of rubber. Really, I only need it to stick just a little bit, just enough to hold the rubber in place while I'm moving the tanks around. And doing it inside, it's gonna make it even easier. So this may actually be overkill. Don't want very much on here because I don't want it squishing out the edges. Let it dry 5 minutes and put it in place. This thin of a coat, it's gonna dry faster than 5 minutes. Like I said, possibly overkill, but I don't want them moving around on me. Let's see. Okay. We'll let her set for 5 minutes, see how this works. Well, it's been 5 minutes or a little more. Go ahead and see if this works or not. Like a lot of stuff that I do, I don't know that it actually will, but we're gonna try it. The hard part is gonna be keeping it from rolling over and sticking to itself and me. And while I've got your ears here, I want to give a shout out to another YouTube channel I found this week called Close Enough Customs. Guy's got a pretty cool 71 Peterbilt 352. Very similar to that one that I put in my video a couple of weeks ago, except this one's a normal sleeper cab. Pretty cool truck. Just started getting the thing running and driving, and about to be driving, I should say. But go give that channel a look out. He's got, I think, 500 subscribers. He can monetize if 500 of you go subscribe. And then having a little tiny bit of extra money every month will help buy stuff to get that rig going. I'm a firm believer in supporting people that work hard and try to do something for themselves, you know, even if it's a YouTube channel. It's a lot of hard work, so, and it takes a long time to get any exposure. I'm still a tiny channel, and I'll likely never be a rock star like a old Twin Sticks or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I didn't start the YouTube channel to become a rock star. So go check them out, pretty cool. This seems to be working pretty good. The hard part is keeping an 1.5 inch strap perfectly centered in an 1.5 inch bracket. This glue does not have to hold for any length of time. Like I said, it only has to hold her in place until the air tanks are tightened up in it. That worked. Just holding just good enough to keep it in the bracket. You can't see the strap hardly. Well, I got the old tank oriented as close to straight up and down as I can. So I just have to take my brackets and mount them as this part of it as close to straight up and down as possible. As soon as I get them on there, or one of these on there, it's gonna try to roll the tank over. So it's gonna be a monkey in a football routine. I've got one strap needs to go here, one needs to go over here based on the measurements I pulled off the truck outside. So this guy just wrapped around it. Let's see. If I need to, I can put a little bit of a lubrication on the inside of these straps to keep the tank from jamming into it, so that I can slide it if need be, without taking it all the way off. But okay, not quite. We're not building a space shuttle here, so close should be good enough. That's close. I can do better. Let's say here. See if I can let this spring out of my hand and do some damage to something. Okay. It's a little springy. Let's go with here. No. Here. No. Here. That's pretty good. Let's see if I can get a bolt started. Okay, a bolt is started. So I can kind of center it best I can. I probably won't run these bolts down tight till I get it on the truck. That's pretty good, I do believe. How are we looking that way? That's also pretty good, I do believe. So, just run it in here good enough to don't slip. show. Well, this is definitely the correct call on how to do this. This is so much easier than trying to fight the tank onto the truck while the brackets are on the truck. This is super easy. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna check my bolt centers to make sure that's where they need to be on the truck. Hey, it's not rolling into the floor. Sweet. Famous last words, huh? Alright. I'm gonna need one of y'all to give me a hand here. Forgot to put on my wireless mic, so audio is gonna suck, but this is gonna be a pain in the butt, I think. Oh Lord. Try to set it on my legs. Get an emergency nut put on here just in case. So they don't fall out. Boy, I like the look already. Okay, now we'll go with the permanent stuff. Okay. Get me lock washers, regulator washers, nuts. Again, I'm not going to tighten all this down hardcore in case I need to loosen anything up later. Whew, that was heavy. Whew, okay. It's not going to fall off. And it fits. I'll go get the other one. Round two. Okay. Maybe I'll be better at this time around. Okay. One bolt there. Ow, that was my finger. Okay. Need a safety bolt again. Safety nut. Okay, make sure it doesn't fall off. Excuse me. Okay. Shove that little fella in there. Lock nut. Alright. Okay. Do this one. Where's bolt? Oh, here it is. I robbed Peter to pay Paul. Okay. Now we'll put the regular hardware on there. I just stuck a nut on these so they don't fall off. Okay, washer, lock washer, and the nut. Okay. Get these good and hand tight. Well, that looks pretty good. I have to show you the old videos. where these air tanks used to be. I mean, they were way down here. They're just kind of flush. As you'll recall, both of the, well, all three of those actually, the drain fittings on these tanks were just whacked over as they hit the ground, you know. You'd think that they'd have some better setup than having them a foot off the ground, but they didn't. I think it looks great. Let's go look at the other side. What do you think? I kind of like the high and tight kind of thing. I'll tell you, another thing I really like about it is, look how easy it is to get to the top of the airline fittings from here. They were in the stock location, way down here, like probably in approximately this location, all the way up there towards the front of the transmission. So keep in mind the fuel tanks, you know, were right here, and the air tanks, well, can't see very good. The fuel tanks was here, and the air tanks was inboard of that. So at some point in time, I'll get up in here in the front half and do a good degrease, and at that time I'll clean and paint the engine and the rest of the frame. But up in there, there's not much dirt and almost no rust, and the whole front half of the frame section has already been, at least the visible part, been rattle can black and power washed. So back here was where it was really bad. So she's looking much improved, I would say. I like it. Next step is going to be to start running air lines. Now, I'm going to start at the compressor, which is up there. You see it sitting right there? It's the head of it. It has this main hard line that comes back and runs here, flexible line, then another hard line that went way down there to the front of the air tank, which isn't there no more. It's now here. So I've got to start there, go to the front half, the wet tank. I'm gonna put a air dryer somewhere. Joey Nimitz and my other buddy, lives up in Minnesota, has sent me links to air dryers that they have on theirs, so I'll figure out where I want to put it and then plumb to there. And from that point, I can run all new lines and whatnot. So the next project is going to be to start at each air tank and one line at a time, run everything where they need to go from this point to the very first connection on whatever particular device is needing air. That way, from here to the compressor is taken care of with new stuff, and from here to the first point of a disconnect is taken care of. Including, I'm going to run all new wires. This is just wires from to the tail lights. This is factory stuff, so it's got the factory green paint on it. We're going to be doing something different than that. All of the air lines you see laying here on the ground, they just run front to back. They're old braided stuff. They're all going to get replaced. My objective here, to probably answer the question some of you are asking why I'm just doing the middle of the truck first. Well, the middle of the truck, other than just a cosmetic thing that has to be done anyways, everything that's critical to this truck getting back on the road, mainly air lines and fuel lines, starts here. You know what I mean? And since I'm using different fuel tanks, putting that stuff in a different spot, it just makes sense to me to start here to here. Well, she's looking better every video, in my opinion anyways. Won't be long, we'll be starting it. That will be a good day. Appreciate y'all.